I'm back. Block Party's back. We've got a Colts preview today. Colts are coming into Lambeau. I'm your host, Mike Wahle. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this, please subscribe, rate, review on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Check out our Process to Perform channel on YouTube where you get the Block Party and both segments. I guess we're going to shoot 2 again this year every week. So that should be good. You can find me at MikeWahle68 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Our show, as always. Hey, by the way, while I got you guys here, if somebody could do like a background for me, this is here's the thing. I don't have any of my equipment here. So as bad as the show was from a production standpoint before, it's even worse now. So if I can get somebody to make me something back here that has something to do with green and gold, or it might be, hey, if you want, I know some people out there are good at watching the show. I really appreciate it. Our show is sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. They had that mega contest in all caps, so I know it's a big deal. When the game's over, head on over to Online Casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker. You can unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. And like I said, look, both teams are 0-1. Colts coming to town 0-1. Anthony Richardson. Last week, they lose 29-27 at home to the Texans. Texans are one of the better teams in the league, quite frankly, the way that they stack up now, especially offensively. It's an embarrassment of riches on it. Offensive line's got 4 first-rounders, I think. Maybe 5 if Shaq Mason's a first-rounder. They might have 5 first-rounders. C.J. Stroud's top – let's just be nice and say top 5, if not more higher. They've got dudes that Tank Dell's back. They just got Joe Mixon. So that team's stacked. So when you 29-27, it's actually quite a game. If you watch the game, it was like C.J. Stroud is making a lot of things happen, and then the running game really got going, particularly behind their left side of the line with Joe Mixon kind of in the middle of the game and then to close it out. But the Colts defense did a really nice job, I think, of moving C.J. Stroud off the spot. And this is one of those games you come in, Jordan Love's hurt. So you come out of this, Malik Willis is going to be your starting quarterback, which is not great, but it's also kind of exciting. You always like to see how these young guys are going to perform, certainly. And this guy's coming to town. Anthony Richardson is crazy talented. He's 9 for 19 last week, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 6 rushes, 56 yards and a touchdown. And listen, Jonathan Taylor's really the talk of the town in Indianapolis. He's got 16 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown, but those aren't big numbers. That offensive line, they have Ryan Kelly at center. I know they picked up Quentin Nelson, obviously like a top 5 or 6 draft pick years ago. He's a really, really good player. One of the better guards in the league, if not the best right now. We're going to be able to take advantage of their tackles. I'll show you that a little bit on tape. But when you look at this football team, defensively, offensively, they're just stacked. Anthony Richardson, the whole game is stopping him. I think the Texans went into the game thinking we got to stop Jonathan Taylor, and then Anthony Richardson had, he only had 212 yards to be fair, so it was like a lot of feast and famine. I think they had 3 plays over 50 yards, but he had 56 yards rushing. He pulls it down and he tucks it and runs. They'll run some RPO stuff or some option stuff that he's really the lead runner. So they're going to give our defense a lot of issues, and I'll kind of try to show that on tape. And defensively, I guess the big news is Brentson Buckner might not – but DeForest Buckner might not be playing. DeForest Buckner, if people don't remember, was an absolute unit for the 49ers. He came over here. I think it was All-Pro maybe 2 years ago. He's a phenomenal player. He's like 6'7". He's got like a 7'12" wingspan. Guy's ridiculous. He can sniff you, he can touch your nose from across the room kind of thing. And if he's going to play, it's a game time decision. But our right guard position is going to be under a lot of scrutiny this week because when you watch this team, they did it more against the left side of the line because the Texans had a first-time starter left guard, their first-round pick from a couple of years ago, instead of over at Shaq Mason. But they're overloading that side and trying to isolate dudes. And I would imagine, understanding Malik Willis is not going to have the full repertoire of the plays. The call sheet's going to be different. He is probably looking at first and second, maybe second read and then trying to run. So when you look at kind of how this game's going to play out, I think a lot of things that we saw and that we're going to see on tape right here from a defensive standpoint, there's a lot of opportunities, but you also have to be aware of what they're trying to accomplish. So let's just get to it, man. Let's go defense first today. Here we go. Okay, so CJ Stroud's a special player, right? So first things first, let's start off just by safeties are deep. They get deeper as the game rolls on. You see the corners play off when they're in three. They like to bring a little bit of pressure, but they really like to create opportunities just with their 3-man line or their 4-man line, the way they situate guys. Now, this is one of the big things that we can do with a number of players on our team. I think they have they have a good secondary, but you can see the safety standing flat-footed. The corner let him catch up, and the story is if you're even, you're leaving. And CJ Stroud just lets this one rip in the pocket. Good catch. And this is kind of one of the things you saw in the game that we don't have CJ Stroud, we don't have Jordan Love, makes you a little bit apprehensive. I thought that CJ Stroud, when you watch this game, there's a difference between throwing things on time and then creating your own plays by extending the play, moving out of the pocket, just having that great awareness, kind of what makes CJ Stroud unique. But he does a really good job of creating things in this game, eluding, and then hitting the guy on the sideline. That is not a play that you're expecting Malik Willis to be able to come in and execute. What you're hoping for is just that he can come in and execute kind of whatever is on the call sheet, the way it's intended to go. And then, obviously, I think with his skill set, remembering him from Liberty, that there might open up some opportunities for a little bit more quarterback runs. But again, now you can't, I talk behind, on the side of my mouth. He's it. Like, you don't want to bring in Clifford. So you already got your one guy hurt. If you go down to your third string quarterback, like, how many games are won by third string quarterbacks in this league, realistically, year in, year out? Like, that's got to be a low number. Okay. So why am I showing this? Like, you got the three lined up to the left of the center, if we're looking from the offense's left. And then you've got, really, you're looking at like a single high here. We're going to play that safety in a lurker or robber position, but they're playing really far off the ball. And you see the safeties, a good, 17 yards back. Okay. So we go into a pro look, shotgun, split backs. And now, again, CJ Stroud this is freestyle. And he throws across his body. And these are like, when you go and look at the big plays in this game, these are the big plays, So we got the reverse on high. This is kind of a staple of this defense for a long time. High energy, you're going to chase the ball. So all these kind of misdirection things, all the jet sweeps, like, you can have a lot of success doing that. Certainly, I think the Packers will be trying to take advantage. Like, I'm watching the screen and Tunzel hits this guy, and then I'm watching this film, and it looks like there's two of the guy. I mean, he hit so hard, there's two of them. That's, when you pan over and your body is face down on the dirt, man, that's tough look. Tough look. So we got here a big game time decision, in my opinion. Big game time decision here with DeForest Buckner. I think it's probably the move of the game. It's probably the move of the game for me, and because I think that he can take advantage of particularly our right guard. He forces you to slide. He forces the tackles to play vertical. But they're going to run a lot of this overload look. They had some success doing it. They did a couple different things where they'll fake like an ET game and then try to get over the top. I think they got a sack on that. They're isolating the right tackle here, which I don't think Zach Tom, you'd feel pretty good about that if you're the Packers and Zach Tom. But Titus Howard's a really good player as well. So you see outside the rookie from UCLA. I don't even want to say his name wrong. Latu. So watching a ton of tape on this guy from last week and then some games prior, my impression is that he's got incredible bend for a taller player. He's got a good ghost. He really does a nice job of keeping hands off his body. He's got a jump chop. He's got a double swipe. He's got a stab, chop, rip. He's got some stuff to him, but he likes to play extended. You'll see a lot of guys want to play close in. He likes to play extended. He wants to get that edge, and he wants to use his kind of the size of his body to be able to flip his hips once he gets even. Now, like this play, he's got no chance to get the quarterback except for CJ Stroud is just freestyling. And again, I'm showing all these plays because if you go to the big plays in this game, the consistent thing was that CJ Stroud was just kind of out there being creative. And this is what he did for a large part last year. So this is fundamentally, I think, a part of their offense. But the Colts did a good job of taking away their first read. You see this. We have to get to this point. So Juice Scruggs, the center, does a great job covering up. LT on the backside, great job covering up on the back. He's going to actually drive Buckner 4 yards off the ball and backside hand him. And then the tight end is the big block here. Tight end makes this play go by just getting enough of this guy. He shouldn't have turned his ass in the hole like this, but just gets enough of this guy to get through. And Mixon's just, Mixon and Jacobs, that's actually a pretty good comparison. I don't know what everybody thinks about that, but when I think of Joe Mixon and Jacobs, I kind of think of the same kind of runner stylistically, which I think is a compliment to both, quite frankly. This is the other thing you notice when you watch the game, and I know we don't really necessarily have as many plays with the fullback, but they struggled against a fullback, talking about the Colts last week. You added that next dimension into the game, and their run fits were very difficult for them. I don't know if it's just because their linebackers aren't used to it, they're undersized, or if they let me go back here. Or if they just want to stay in nickel out of some of those looks and they kind of got caught off guard. A lot of times the Texans were motioning back into two-back and then trying to run some leads off out of it. Seemed to be pretty effective. So obviously those teams know each other really well. They're both in the AFC South. Their defense, I do think we should be able to put 30 points up on them. Now, Malik Willis, I get it. But I think with our wide receivers, you have to look at our wide receivers versus their secondary. You got to feel good about that matchup. You have to look at our running backs versus their linebackers. Have to feel good about that matchup. I don't know if we're getting anybody back as far as Marshawn Lloyd or not, but that would be fantastic. Offensive, defensive line. I think for me, in the positions that it really matters, because DeForest Buckner really plays actually over the left guard more often than not. I just don't think he would. It wouldn't make any sense to, play against Jenkins. It doesn't make any sense. But you look at Zach Tom and what he's able to do. I think Rasheed Walker will have a nice day against both the starter and the backup from UCLA at the left tackle position. And really, Grover Stort's a stud. So if Grover Stort's in, I think he's going to give Josh Myers and the right end, whoever's playing right guard, I think he's going to give them troubles. He's not a pass rush guy. But as far as leverage and being able to stop the run, he's a really, really good player. Kwity Paye has always been okay to me. I don't think he's not going to give Zach Tom any trouble. Tyquan Lewis, I liked his game going into this game. I didn't think he did a lot, but he's going to really try to get downhill and try to bull you and try to take the inside if you overset. I just like the Latu kid a lot better. I think if Latu's going to get I would say Latu's going to get the majority of snaps in this game. I could be wrong, but I would think so. But when we talk about offense now, this offense, and let's just get into it, man. This guy is, look at this throw. He's on the 30, what is that, the 32? That's not human. Throwing on the 32-yard line. This son of a bitch ends up throwing it to the 2. Somebody do math out there for me. That seems like a hell of a long ways. And he's backing up to his left. I think I got the copy here. By the way, I am well aware that on the screen, there's kind of a silhouette of me taking the picture of the screen. That's because I'm not very smart and don't have great lighting in here, but I'll figure it out, guys. Trust me. Watch this, though. There's some things you can't teach. So, first of all, let's start with this. And just talk about offensive line, how we need to this quarterback. You might beat their center and their left guard and their right guard, but you're not going to bull rush them, okay? Now, historically with the Colts, for whatever reason, for the last 7 years, you can bull rush the absolute hell out of their tackles. I think these guys are the exact same. I'm feeling really good about bull rushing the hell out of that right tackle. I mean, the way that he just said, I think Rashawn Gary, if he sets like that on Rashawn Gary doesn't have multiple quarterback hits. I don't know if he can take this guy down with one arm, but if he doesn't have multiple quarterback hits, I would be absolutely shocked because that is a terrible pass set. And he's just begging to get bull rushed. Watch this though. I mean, I know everybody's seen it. Here's the thing I didn't even notice it until I'm watching the tape. The dude that's running is over on the outside. He's like the numbers on the far right when he throws this ball. He throws it so damn far that he ends up on the other side of the field, another 30 yards downfield. I mean, this is just he's looking to his right and just says, what the hell? I'll just chuck it over here. Look where that guy's coming from. Oh, my God, that was amazing. Okay, so then this is just a casual this is men's league throw. So what I mean by men's league throw is like you're out on your Saturday and you got Uncle Rico out there who knew he could just gone pro and he's just whipping it around the yard. And you're like, there's always that one dude who's like, man, that guy's really good. He played pro or something. He's just whipping the ball around. They got that smaller ball he can throw a little bit further. This guy, he looks like he's just making some men's league throws against these kids, man. That's a casual 60-yard pass. It's just a super casual 60-yarder. So they go motion to trips, and you see the Texans back. They just get further and further away because they know it's good. They've already been burned a couple times. So this play should not have worked. So he hasn't thrown the ball on time. He hasn't really thrown the ball to the right guy. And because he's got such a rocket, it works. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's out-arming the rules of everybody else. The rules of everybody else say that you can't throw this late because of what's coming. And he manages to do it. And they take another 1 yard. I mean, so what's happening is these defenses are going I think we were pretty sound there. What happened? Man, he fit it in somehow because he's got an absolute cannon. This is the real question of the game. We didn't generate anything of a pass rush. This is not the Eagles line, though. But we did not generate a pass rush last week. I do think our defensive ends will generate a pass rush. I don't know if we have anybody on the interior that can generate a pass rush consistently. Carl Brown might get there someday. You think Kenny would do it, but he's been playing in that other defense for so long. How do you pressure these guys? So if you have rush lane and gap responsibilities, then whatever gap that you leave open, this guy's a gone. He's a goner. So they all go kind of rush straight, and then we got the defensive tackle rushing over the left guard to the center, really just to try to take two so they can isolate over on the left tackle. That's really all they're trying to do, and he's gone. He just takes off for a casual 20. Nobody can catch him. So this is the problem you face. You see it here. First of all, why even rush over this guy over Quentin Nelson? I mean, so now you take two. So Fred, you just see the lane is obvious for him. And I don't know what his progression is at this point in his career. Is it, look at one, look at two and go? Or is it, hey, one and I'm out of here because I'm so fast? So this is like the nightmare, right? This is the nightmare scenario. They've done everything else to you. They've run all these plays. They got Jonathan Taylor lined up. And now all of a sudden you run the lead RPO with two blockers. And you got a guy who likes to run through tackles. So, I mean, it's real problems. And I think this is the real question for me is we have Quay Walker, who is, in theory, big enough, fast enough, strong enough to take this guy on. But to me, if you spot, you see the separation between, their second level defense here. They got five guys across, two guys in the back, and then they got a four-man rush. It's kind of the exact same look I just showed, right? Where that left gap or that B gap on the left side's open up. And you're thinking to yourself, well, okay, should we spy Quay? In other words, is he a good enough passer to recognize? Because you can't spy this guy with the D tackle. No, it's just you're wasting your time. You're not going to spy with him. First of all, he'll run through an arm tackle. And second of all, you'll never catch him. So it's like, what do? If you spy, then how fast is the coordinator picking up Shane O'Mac, Shane Steichen, UNLV quarterback unit? He'll figure it out pretty fast. That's his job. And there'll be guys open in the middle. But if you don't spy, I mean, this guy's gone. I mean, look what he does to the pitcher there. I mean, that's a good player. So I think that the hard part is, what do you do when you just don't have anybody really that can tackle it? This is like, it reminds me of watching when we were playing. It reminds me of looking at Dante Culpepper. And I remember like Kabir, I think it was maybe Kabir, because I think he outweighed Kabir by like 20 pounds. So I remember Kabir like beat, somebody clean and like tried to sack him. And he just like shrugged him off. And so you're kind of looking at that kind of fella right now, as far as athleticism and size and even more speed. They've got some good weapons. If I'm looking at the game, one thing I didn't put in there that I wanted to highlight was, you don't want to run games against this offensive line. I think this offensive line is much better running games than they are just taking guys one-on-one. I think you're wasting your time. Now, if you want to bring a stunt with a pressure, so you want to bring a dog or a blitz, so a linebacker or a safety or corner, now we're talking something different, right? Because making them throw on time. The question is, when they get there, can they tackle him? Like Keyshawn Nixon last week, it's like, you get there, you got to make the play. Okay. I think they'll probably keep doing that. But as far as just isolating Rashawn Gary on their right tackle, isolating Preston Smith on their left tackle, isolating Kenny Clark as much as possible on their right guard. Like, can we get one-on-ones and see if they can win with the one-on-ones? Because when you run games on these guys, I mean, Richardson has all day. Everybody thinks games are hard. Games are super easy unless you add some sort of pressure look with it. If you bring pressure with the game, it's difficult because now you're getting picked at different levels by different people you weren't expecting. But straight games take away the creativity of the pass rush. So it's just like a body moving in kind of a vector. It's not that hard. So and these guys their line's good. So I think that'll be interesting on how they decide to play that. For me, the big things here are, Anthony Richardson can throw the ball on time or even a little bit late. Do you want to plaster their guys and give him a chance to throw it early? Do you want to pressure him and at the very least move him off the spot in hopes that he can't throw these 80-yard bombs? There was another play that I cut out, but he rolled to his right and he had 3 levels of guy open. And the third guy was even with the safety running the wrong direction. And he could have had another 80-yard touchdown. I mean, because now he can throw it that far. So what do you do when a guy's got unlimited arm strength and he's got the size and speed? His accuracy isn't, this is not Kirk Cousins, right? He's not that kind of quarterback. But if you heat him up, he will run. You have to make sure you can tackle him. So having a rush plan, what does a rush plan mean? A rush plan is very specifically what is going to happen, let's say, from the outside in with our defensive ends. Are we allowing our defensive ends to run over the top, or are we forcing them to collapse the pocket at the height of the quarterback? Okay, so that's part of your defensive rush plan. Are the tackles is one tackle forced to always stay in the A gap, and then we're going to let the other guy freestyle? Do we want to flush him into something? Do we want to bring pressure in both A gaps and then try to collapse the pocket around him and make him uncomfortable? And we'd rather have him throw the ball under duress than try to run. So there's all these things that go in, because like just trying to 4 guys trying to beat him clean, I think you can do that. But the caveat is, like when we've talked about on the show for years now, if Rashawn Gary is going to continue to, like in years past, play a field for half his pass rush snaps, for me, this isn't going to work against this particular guy. Against a lot of guys, but him in particular, because he's about 1 or 2 reads from taking off anyways. So, it's going to be this is going to be a really fun game to watch. I think, honestly, guys, this is going to be fun as hell. I know everybody gets apprehensive about losing your quarterback, and I said this on a show a couple days ago. Like, I played with backup quarterbacks, and some of them are awful because they don't prepare. But I can tell you that it's very easy for a club to rally around a team to rally around a backup quarterback if they know that guy is putting in the effort week in week, game planning, studying hard, being a leader on the field, doing all the right things. It doesn't matter, at least in the short term, that he's not the guy. He's not as good as the guy. He's not our starting guy. We can all, in some ways, fine tune and elevate our level of play to make sure that his job is easier, whether it's our communication up front, whether it's how we make calls up front, whether it's the precision of our routes, whether it's I spend an extra 30 minutes studying my playbook. So we can do that and create a game plan for Matt LaFleur can create a great offensive game plan that plays to his strengths, probably looking at the pass game first. What do you like to run? And then see if we can build a run game around that pass game. Usually when you're making up plays, at least when I was playing, you'd go, okay, what do we want to do on the ground against these guys? And then how are we going to make that look like the pass? I think in a week like this with a guy who's limited in his time with the Packers, you might want to do the opposite and say, Malik, what do you really like from a route combination standpoint? Like what plays are you into? And then let's get to those formations and personnel groups, and then let's see what we can run out of it. I think I would do it that way if I was game planning, specifically this week, just because of the situation right. Going to be a fun game. I think the Colts are favored by 3.5 right now, which I think is probably fair given the fact we don't have a starting quarterback. But listen, first game in Lambeau. I think ticket sales went down. I think the prices went down. So if you didn't get one or you can't get one, go get one. And yeah, this will be fun. Let's see what happens across the rest of the league. I know Aaron Jones had a big day for Minnesota. That team's going to be good. O'Connell and Flores, offensive and defensive, head coach, but offensive, defensive court play callers. Is there a better group in the league? Might have the quarterback yet. They may not. But Detroit, probably upper echelon NFC right now, top two. And Chicago, I mean, look, it's not like Caleb Williams is great, but that they've got a little something to them. I think they got to play the Texans this week. They're probably going to take an L on that, quite frankly. I'd be shocked if they didn't. But this NFC North is going to be a good division, and the Packers can't really afford to fall back because the games are going to get easier as we move on here. I think there's going to be a lot of tough games in this division, maybe tougher than it has been a couple of years. So looking forward to it. Again, if you guys want to tell me what a good job I'm doing or terrible job I'm doing, hit me up at MikeWall68 at Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Please hit the subscribe button, like, review this on the Process to Perform channel. As always, see you next week. Until then, go Pack Go.